Shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-905-9814. That's 1-800-905-9814.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
Call 1-800-460-5622, 1-800-460-5622.
Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Tonight, we're going to show you why Senator Joe Manchin could be the most powerful man in Washington right now. I'll explain why and why what he has now hinted he's unprepared to do could really derail the Biden agenda. Also, an update when it comes to the case against Matt Gaetz. We're going to learn what prosecutors may have just done in Florida, flipping someone to cooperate with their investigation into a possible sex trafficking ring that could be very bad news for the Florida congressman. Plus, more emotional and impactful testimony in the trial of Derek Chauvin today. We're going to show you some of the key moments, including a doctor who took the stand and why his testimony is being called devastating for the defense. But we begin this evening with the disturbing rise in hate crimes, which is continuing to plague the Asian American community. The NYPD, they have formed a task force to catch people in the act, and earlier this week, they nabbed a woman at a nail salon near Chinatown in Manhattan. That woman stormed in, berated, threatened the workers. Then she went outside and yelled at an Asian person on the street, but that person was an undercover police officer. And that's right on the heels of this horrific bias crime. It's become all too familiar. It was captured by a surveillance camera in Midtown Manhattan in broad daylight. It shows a large man punching and kicking without provocation a 65-year-old Asian American woman while he yells slurs at her. At the end of the video, you can see the security guard at that building shutting the door, doing nothing to help the victim. He has been fired. So was the doorman. The suspect has since been arrested. And out in Queens, also in New York City, which has a very large Asian American population, this woman was sent to the hospital after yet another unprovoked attack when a man assaulted her while she was waiting in a line outside of a bakery. And I could go on all day, unfortunately, with horrific bias crimes caught on video that are all happening in major cities across our country. The problem, it is not going away. In fact, it's getting worse. A new study says their overall numbers decreased by 7% in those major cities last year, but during that same period, attacks against Asian Americans soared by 150%. And another group that tracks these crimes says there were nearly 4,000 incidents against that community over the past year, and that number is likely vastly underreported. The numbers, they tell a disturbing story, but now I want to put a human face on this, and for that, I want you to take a listen to Lee Wong. He's an elected official in Westchester, Ohio, explaining why he is just as American as anyone else in this country.
People question my patriotism, that I don't look American enough. They could not get over this face. I want to show you something. I want to tell you, because I'm not afraid. I don't have to live in fear, intimidation, or insults. I'm 69 years old. And I'm going to show you what patriotism, the questions about patriotism looks like. Here is my proof. This is sustained through my service in the US military. Now, is this patriot enough?
And on the federal level, Congresswoman Grace Meng of New York has introduced new legislation to deal with these hate crimes. I'm going to be speaking with her in a minute, but first, take a listen to her comments. And these were delivered during a recent congressional hearing when she called out a Republican colleague who is against her bill. He was using the free speech argument as his rationale for why he does not support her cause.
I want to go back to something that Mr. Roy said earlier. Your president and your party and your colleagues can talk about issues with any other country that you want, but you don't have to do it by putting a bullseye on the back of Asian Americans across this country, on our grandparents, on our kids. This hearing was to address the hurt and pain of our community and to find solutions, and we will not let you take our voice away from us.
Congresswoman Meng, she's also become a target herself. Her office, they decided to share the voicemails that they've been receiving, and I warn you, they are disturbing to hear.
I'm calling about the Karate Kid virus, or the Kung Fu virus, or the whatever came from Asia. It's not racist, it's the truth. Filthy people.
Hey, you look like a Chinese virus, or maybe Kung Flu, or maybe Wuhan. You look like a Wuhan. I'll say what I want. Chinese virus, Chinese virus, Chinese virus, Kung Flu, you Kung Flu, you. You don't tell me what to say, you.
Unbelievable. I want to now bring the Congresswoman in. Congressman, thank you for the time. We just showed some of the horrific scenes that have been playing out in recent months with the attacks on folks in the Asian community, and also some of those disgusting voicemails that were even left in your office. As best you can, explain the palpable fear of parents being afraid to let their kids play outside, or adults worried that their seniors, parents, they don't want them to go out, concerned about loved ones. Just how palpable is the fear right now?
Well, thank you for having me and for covering this issue. This has actually been a reality for much of the past year. Aside from the quarantine, many Asian American families have also been telling their parents not to go outside. And in light of recent attacks in recent weeks against the elderly here in New York City and the shootings in Atlanta, people have really hammered down and told their parents, do not go out. Parents are telling their kids, don't go play outside. I know, people have even offered to buy pepper spray and whistles and different tools to protect yourself to their family members.
Congresswoman, has this been going on for a lot longer than the past year, but only now it's getting the attention? Or has something really tangibly changed in the last year since COVID's become, a daily reality for all of us?
I mean, bigotry towards Asian Americans has always been a problem. Most of it has been in the form of verbal sorts of attacks. I would say that in recent months and in recent weeks especially, we've had this added layer of violence and even to the point of death, as we saw in Atlanta. So while it's nothing new, it's a situation that has been getting worse, and the increase in the number of incidents has been alarming.
The obvious question as to why. How much has language like Kung Flu or the China virus that kept getting perpetrated, not just by the former president, but by others in the city you work in, how much of that has contributed to this?
Well, words matter, language matters, and especially when you were the president of the United States with a tremendous platform, especially during the beginning and the height of the pandemic, where people didn't know much about this virus and people were scared. They were losing their loved ones, their homes, their jobs. And for the leader of our country at that point to use words when his own cabinet members suggested that he doesn't use those words was really incendiary and really, I think, led to a lot more of these incidents happening across the country.
From a personal level, we showed one of the scenes, a woman in your district just shoved violently to the ground for absolutely no reason. The disgusting messages that were left where people felt that they were being deprived of being bigots because they wanted to say what they wanted to say. What's this been like for you personally?
It's been hard to take. I've been really scared for people, but also it's a stark reminder for me as an Asian American how Asians have been treated either as invisible or seen as foreigners and outsiders for much of our lives, even though people like me were born here. We've grown up with constant questioning of where we learned English, where we come from, really, where do we come from, and being told to go back to wherever country around the world. And so this is something that we are actually really accustomed to. But I think that, right now it's important that people are speaking up. And what's even more heartening is that there are so many people and so many leaders from beyond the Asian American communities who are speaking up in solidarity with us.
And you, along with Congressman Andy Kim, you went down to Georgia, and you've been as vocal as anyone in Congress about what's gone on the last year. I played a clip of a lawmaker at a state level who stood up and literally took off his shirt and showed the scars he bore while fighting for this country in Vietnam. And the fact, and he said it, that long before COVID, he had to prove his Americanism, if you will, even though he spent his life defending this country. How much of, in addition to the ugliness and the violence, the fact that you have to prove your Americanism, I got to imagine that's one of the most disheartening things about this horrible past year.
Definitely. And I think that it's sad that someone like him, who is a veteran and who has served our country, had to do something and had to show his physical scars like that. But it is something that is really true for so many Asian Americans. People look at us and don't think we are American. People look at us and think that we are perpetual outsiders. We are from somewhere else. And when I went down to Atlanta and I got the chance to speak with some of the children, the families of the victims, I actually said thank you to them, because I said that their mom's stories, the stories of the first generation of immigrants who've come to this country, worked hard, sacrificed so much for their families. Those are the stories of so many people, including Asian Americans, and their stories have made certain that Asian American stories are seen as American stories also.
In the past year, you've done more than just talked about this. You had spoke a year ago on the floor, and you got a resolution passed in the fall. You've worked both in D.C. as well as also in your district on this issue. And now you've got a hate crimes bill. Talk about what that intends to do and the support you believe is there or isn't there on Capitol Hill.
Sure. We're pushing legislation that we hope will be passed in the upcoming weeks. legislation that would provide more funding to our local community organizations who have literally been on the front lines of fighting this pandemic, providing dedicated personnel and resources at the Department of Justice so we can streamline the review of these sorts of incidents, and to also find ways to make it easier for victims to report these incidents. It's hard. There are a lot of obstacles to people being willing to come forward and report these incidents. And finally, to provide an educational component for those who have ultimately been convicted of hate crimes. We want to focus on the educational piece of that.
Well, I'm really glad you gave us a few minutes. You've been talking as loud as anyone on this issue, and I wish you continued success. And know that there's a lot of folks out there who know this is as un-American as anything could be, what's been going on here, and hopefully they know that this is not what most of us believe. But thank you, Congresswoman. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
And up next, we're going to explain why Senator Joe Manchin could be the most powerful lawmaker in Washington right now. I'll also show you how the West Virginia Democrat could have a huge impact on many of the most important issues this country's facing.
Shake your legs, shake your abs, shake your butt, shake up your entire body to a slim, firm, and sexy new you with PowerFit Elite, the breakthrough multi-directional vibration platform that helps engage all your muscles from the moment you step on it. PowerFit uses multi-directional vibration to create muscle confusion and rapidly contract and relax your muscles to help you get fit and stay fit.
It's intense. You really feel your whole body working. You could be watching TV, but you do feel the workout.
It works you out where you don't feel like you're working out. It's actually a lot of fun.
Each traditional exercise that you do on PowerFit Elite can help sculpt, transform, and redefine your body from head to toe. The secret is the multi-directional vibration technology that causes muscle confusion and forces them to contract and counter-challenge you. Your muscles work hard so you can stabilize and maintain your balance. There are 3 standing positions: walking, jogging, and then running. Plus, there are 3 different program levels for workouts to choose from, so you can really customize your workout. PowerFit Elite can help improve your energy, burn calories, tone your body, define your abs, work your arms, strengthen your legs, boost your buttocks, and so much more. And for an even more intense workout, add resistance bands for bicep curls, forward lateral raises, and crisscross pulls. It's time to join the new fitness revolution that's shaking up the world. Call or go online now and you can try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95. But wait, order right now and we'll upgrade you to the deluxe set that includes the complete workout guide, the power bands, and the handy remote control. That's an over $80 value free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days. And if it's not the best workout system you've used, just return it for a refund of your trial price. But hold everything, we'll also add our healthy eating plan to help you achieve your best possible results free. Try PowerFit Elite in your home for 30 days for only $14.95 and experience the power of extreme vibration. Order.
If something happened to you, what would happen to them? Their home, their education, their future. You need life insurance, and chances are SelectQuote can help you get it for less than $1 a day.
SelectQuote found Jacob 40, a $500,000 policy for only $19 a month. And SelectQuote found his wife Wendy, a $500,000 policy for only $17 a month.
Our secret? At SelectQuote, we aggressively comparison shop up to 10 highly rated companies to find you the company with the best rates.
We found Gary, 35, a $1 million policy for only $22 a month.
Why pay more? Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford.
Call 800-717-7198 or go to SelectQuote.com now and get the insurance your family needs.
At a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Gun violence in this country is an epidemic, and it's an international embarrassment.
That was the president today. Biden announcing new executive actions when it comes to gun control. He's also nominating a veteran gun control advocate to run the ATF. But if the president is looking for Congress to pass new gun control laws, it's probably not going to happen. And not just because of Republicans or the NRA. So the single biggest roadblock to the Biden agenda, it's a Democrat, and he's from West Virginia, Senator Joe Manchin. His stance is putting everything that Biden and Democrats across the country want and thought was in play after those elections in Georgia. Well, it puts him on life support. For more, let's bring in senior political correspondent Andrew Whitman.
And Rich, we have heard this sort of thing from Joe Manchin ever since Democrats won control of the Senate on January 5th. But Manchin doubled down on his support for keeping the filibuster intact in the Senate. The filibuster, of course, is the rule that says 60 senators must agree to allow any bill to be voted on, even if the bill only needs 50 votes to pass. There have been calls to kill or lower the threshold for filibusters, or to revert the filibuster to what it once was and require senators to hold the floor and speak for hours to delay legislation, like in the 1939 classic Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And while there are valid reasons for preserving the filibuster, they rely on engagement with a willing partner. The GOP is not exactly a willing partner right now. And Manchin's arguments also fail to meet the reality of the moment. Manchin writes that he opposes the filibuster because he wants an era of bipartisanship and common ground, and he lists voting reform as an example where that bipartisan cooperation can happen. But the stimulus bill, overwhelmingly popular among all voters, didn't get a single Republican vote. And on voting reform, names like Trump, Paul, Cruz, and Abbott are among those boycotting different companies just for offering their opinions on voting rights bills that clashed with the GOP's views. And considering any one change in the Senate could put Mitch McConnell back in charge again, and that McConnell created exception after exception to the filibuster, saying each time that if Democrats had the majority, they would do the same thing. So does Joe Manchin really think that Mitch McConnell has abandoned partisanship? What's more, keeping the filibuster could kill almost everything Joe Biden campaigned on, including Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure bill, or any shot at gun control laws, which Biden called for today, or climate change, immigration policies, health care reforms, criminal justice reform, everything. And here's where Manchin's stance gets a little infuriating. The American people want change on all of those issues and more, and they back Biden's positions on them. Some are very popular, like the 85% backing infrastructure spending, or the 95% who want criminal justice reform. But issues like guns, climate, immigration, healthcare, labor unions, and LGBTQ rights as well, all could happen without the filibuster, but none may happen if Joe Manchin gets his way. Rich?
You know, Andrew, I remember, not so much with you, but with so many folks who told me, oh, you're misreading this. Now that they got 50, Manchin, it's just empty threats. He would never dare scuttle big ticket legislation. I said, you're not listening to the man. He's telling you he is not going to go along to get along. But the most important point that you made dealt with numbers. The first one, the litany of hugely significant issues that the American public, even the divided American public, overwhelmingly wants. But the other one is this idea that there's 10 Republicans who, I'm sorry, there's not 10 rational Republicans on most of these issues. I mean, you can talk about Mitt Romney or Murkowski or even, Susan Collins, all you want. You can't get to 10 under any scenario.
Those are the three Republicans that we're talking about and looking at on every bill that we're counting votes on, and there's never a fourth name on the list, ever. I mean,
even if you get there, say you find a Toomey, you don't have 6 more.
Right, and so none of this stuff is going to pass. And look, the threat from Manchin isn't that he votes no on these bills. The threat from Manchin is that you alienate him so much that he says, you know what, I'm becoming a Republican, and I'm going to vote for Mitch McConnell, and all of a sudden Republicans have majority in the Senate again, and nothing gets done. I mean, even less gets done. And let's not forget, this is West Virginia's a state that Donald Trump won by 40-plus points.
But he won recently. He's not up in 2022.
He's not.
And my point is, if he polled, and I've seen West Virginia polls, my God, Andrew, the Republican governor who's right of Attila the Hun in West Virginia, he supported the stimulus even more than Manchin did. And Manchin is really a moderate. He's not a Democrat in name only. I don't get the logic of this. His state recipients would be helped by infrastructure. They'd be helped by expansion of health care. On so many of these issues, the math doesn't make sense to me. But you made the other point. On what planet does Joe Manchin believe, forget about the 10 Republicans, that the minute McConnell gets the gavel back, he is not going to do exactly the opposite of what Manchin is preaching the Senate to try? He knows what's going on. He can't be that oblivious to the reality he's dealing with.
Manchin is saying, basically, he supports the Biden agenda. He just doesn't support the process by which Biden is trying to go about it. But you make the point perfectly that Mitch McConnell, if Republicans have control of the Senate, nothing on the Biden agenda can possibly get through. It's a little bit, I think, of posturing for Manchin. It also secures his position as the pivot vote in the Senate. So, you know, everybody will come walking over to Joe Manchin looking for his vote.
But now, at the risk of getting inside baseball, Andrew, yes, he gleefully loves the idea that he's the fulcrum in the Senate.
Yep.
But if you've now said you're not going to do anything going forward, he didn't say that exactly, but the allusion is, I'm not going to, throw the filibuster rule out of the way anymore. He becomes less important because you need 60 now, and his 50th vote is never going to get you there. So unless he's really flexible, like McConnell has been historically about when to get rid of the filibuster and when not to, then his power that he seemingly enjoys isn't worth what it was yesterday.
That's a great point. And he would only become the fulcrum vote on nominations because those are not subject to the filibuster right now. I think it really is somewhat short-sighted on his part. It'll be. He has hinted in the past that he might be willing to avoid the filibuster for things like voting rights, but then now he seems to be ruling that out. I think he's left himself a little wiggle room, but there's not much.
No. And again, it's on stuff that is not hyper progressive. These are things the American public wants. And if you believe economists, what the American economy needs right now. Anyway, frustrating to say the least. Andrew, thank you. When we come back, we're going to have an update on the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer facing murder charges, as you know, in the death of George Floyd. But it was another day of drama in the courtroom, including compelling testimony from a doctor with some of the most damaging eyewitness testimony we've heard here. We're going to hear from him after the break and show you some of the moments that stood out.
Guys, got hair loss? I know what you're thinking. Should I shave my head? Comb it over? Wear a hat? Just stop. This isn't 1970. Keep your hair and your confidence because Bosley, America's #1 hair restoration expert, can give you your real hair back permanently. Check them out today because they're giving away an absolutely free information kit and a free gift card to everyone who texts SHINE to 234-234. Dude, you don't have to look like your dad because this isn't your dad's hair loss treatment. People all over the country trust Bosley because they're ahead of the curve. They use the latest technology to give you your real hair back. And the best part, Bosley's permanent solution is protected by the Bosley Guarantee. Let them show you for free how awesome your hair could look with an absolutely free information kit and a gift card for $250 off. Text SHINE to 234-234. Ask about the Bosley Guarantee. That's SHINE to 234-234.
Has your AC busted, computer crashed, appliance broken? Then you need ARW, American Residential Warranty.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty. Home appliance repairs and replacement can cause stress and cost you over $3,000 per year. But starting at less than $1 a day, ARW has home warranty plans that cover household appliances, systems, and electronics. Parts and labor included. When I needed ARW, they were there. My oven actually took a dive in the middle of making a big dinner for family and friends, picked up the phone, called ARW, they repaired it, dinner saved, that easy.
My air conditioning broke on a Sunday. It was so hot, I called ARW and they came out and fixed it right away.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, even pools and spas, and so much more. All you have to do is call or go to getahomeplan.com. Plus, ARW's partnered with Assurant to offer protection for all your new and used household electronics for just one low price.
I dropped my laptop and ARW replaced it with a brand new one, and all I paid was a small service fee.
All plans are fully customizable and come with with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get a home security system valued at $1,250 free with any plan. And you can trust ARW to be there when you need it. Just call ARW and a licensed technician will be dispatched to your home. All covered repairs are guaranteed.
My refrigerator broke, and not only did ARW repair it fast, they even sent me a reimbursement check for all the food that went bad.
So come on, relax. Stop worrying about unexpected breakdowns and costly repairs. Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
Call 1-800-253-1237. Again, that's 1-800-253-1237 or log on to getahomeplan.com today.
And you can see when you count it yourself that the respiratory rate is 22. So basically it tells you there isn't fentanyl on board. That is affecting his respiratory centers. It's not having an effect on his respiratory centers.
Dr. Tobin, he's a world-renowned pulmonologist, which means he's an expert when it comes to breathing. He was the star witness at the Derek Chauvin trial today. And as you just heard, the doctor says fentanyl, which George Floyd did have in his system, was not the cause of Floyd's death. That was just one of many things he testified to today that's considered very damaging to the defense of the former Minneapolis police officer. Dr. Tobin also discussed the moments when George Floyd was gasping for his last breath and how the doctor knew exactly what was happening at the moment.
The left image, you see the finger on the street. Then over on the right image, you see his knuckle against the tire. And to most people, this doesn't look terribly significant, but to a physiologist, this is extraordinarily significant, because this tells you that he has used up his resources and he is now literally trying to breathe with his fingers and knuckles. Because when you begin to breathe with your rib cage and your diaphragm. The next thing you recruit after that is your sternomastoid muscle, which is the big muscle in your neck. And then when those are wasted up, then you're relying on these types of muscles, like your fingers, to try and stabilize your whole right side.
The doctor also used an animation to illustrate how Floyd had the breath squeezed out of him.
Okay, so now we're looking, and you can see the contraction of the diaphragm. That's the kind of pink area down at the bottom. We see air going down through the windpipe and then proceeding down to the bronchial tubes. And then it was going to continue down the bronchial tubes until it will reach out to the air sacs, which will be the alveoli. And now we're seeing that we're moving down here, and these are like the grape-like structures down at the bottom, and this is where all the action occurs. The oxygen goes across those air sacs, and also the CO2 goes across them, then it's expelled back out. So that's everything in a very rapid video.
So then what happened in the case of Mr. Floyd that relates to the shallow breathing that resulted in his low oxygen?
So there are a number of forces that led to that the size of his breath became so small. And so there are a series of forces higher up that are leading to that. And the main forces that are going to lead to the shallow breath are going to be that he's turned prone on the street, that he has the handcuffs in place combined with the street, and then that he has a knee on his neck, and then that he has a knee on his back and on his side. All of these four forces are ultimately going to result in the low tidal volume, which gives you the shallow breaths that we saw here. And so the air will not be able to reach those air sacs we just saw in the video, where the oxygen is exchanged and the carbon dioxide is removed.
Dr. Tobin also testified that Floyd showed signs of brain injury a full 4 minutes before Chauvin lifted his knee from Floyd's neck. The major takeaways from Tobin's testimony: yes, there may have been drugs in the system, but it wasn't drugs or poor health that killed Floyd. It was lack of oxygen due to the knee on his neck. Now, the last witness of the day was forensic scientist who performed the toxicology test on Floyd's autopsy. He confirmed that both fentanyl and methamphetamines were in Floyd's system, but said those drugs were not responsible for his death. We will, of course, continue to follow the trial for you and bring the latest updates and most powerful testimony We'll also be speaking with experts to analyze what is going on inside that courtroom. Coming up next, though, we will head to Florida for an update on the Matt Gaetz scandal. Politico's top Florida reporter joined us with the very latest, including a key associate of the congressman possibly flipping on Gaetz and cooperating now with the prosecutors.
Help. When you fall and can't get help,
Help.
You will lie on the floor for hours or days in constant, terrible anguish, which often results in a tragic outcome. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether at home,
I've fallen and I can't get up.
in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
or on the go.
Help! I'm in the park and I can't get up.
And batteries never need charging. Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-215-6582. That's 1-800-215-6582. Call now. 1-800-215-6582.
Is your bathroom looking old and worn out? Want to update it, but you don't know where to start? Then let BCI Bath and Shower show you how to turn that old bath into an aisle of beauty and functionality.
Remodeling our bathroom was a big decision for us.
They didn't make a mess out of our house at all. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful new bathroom.
For a limited time, be one of the first 100 callers who schedule a free in-home consultation and receive $500 off. Factory-trained and certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military.
This is important news for people who took certain drugs for HIV and then suffered serious injury to their kidneys or bones. Your HIV drug could have contained TDF, an ingredient known to increase the risk of kidney disease and kidney failure. TDF has also been linked to bone fractures, bone density loss, and softening of the bones. If you or a loved one took Truvada, Viriad, Atroplus, Stribild, or Complera and then suffered from kidney disease, kidney failure, bone fractures, osteoporosis, osteopenia, or osteomalacia, call the lawyers at Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. If you or a loved one took any of these medications and were then diagnosed with kidney disease, kidney failure, bone fractures, bone density loss, or softening of the bones, call Davis & Crump right now to see if you're eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Our first consultation is free and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call Davis & Crump right now. Operators are standing by.
Every day of the 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency, it was a good day to be Matt Gaetz. But that time, like the Trump presidency, is now gone. Gaetz is under federal investigation to see if he paid women for sex, if he had a sexual relationship with a minor, a 17-year-old girl, and if he paid for that girl to travel with him. If he violated that or other federal sex trafficking laws, you know the trouble Matt Gaetz could be looking at. Today, word of a plea deal with the other man connected to the case, a Florida Republican who was set to stand trial this summer for sex trafficking and other charges, and whose attorney more than hinted today that he's ready to flip on Gaetz.
I'm sure Matt Gaetz is not feeling very comfortable today.
But as Gaetz begins to try and defend himself, no matter how indefensible the allegations, there is a new focus on who he was when he was a state legislator in Florida. Were there signs about what he would be like once he got to our nation's capital? And for that and more, let's bring back Andrew.
And Rich, Matt Gaetz, believe it or not, is trying to start the process of trying to rehab his image, if that's possible. Tomorrow, Gaetz is slated to be the feature speaker for the group Women for America First. It's the same group that helped organize the Trump rally in Washington that ended with the Capitol riot. This is a Trump group. It's happening at a Trump golf course. In short, the whole thing is Trump, Trump, Trump. Worth pointing out that Trump himself, whom Gaetz attached himself to like a friendly parasite, didn't exactly give Gaetz a lot of cover in his statement yesterday, noting only that Gaetz did not ask him directly for a pardon. The reporting has Gaetz asking the White House, not Trump himself. And he only said that Gaetz has denied the allegations, not that Gaetz is innocent or that Gaetz is a nice guy or anything else. Gaetz also penned an op-ed to the conservative Washington Examiner this week claiming he's innocent, but looking closer, Gaetz kept referring to his old lifestyle, how it was different but not illegal. He wrote about his sex life before meeting his fiancée, and oddly, Quote, my personal life is and always has been conducted on my own time and my own dime, which frankly is just a weird thing for a guy to say after he's been accused of paying for sex. And what is this old lifestyle that Gates keeps referring to? He got engaged on December 31st and seems to be saying that anything he did before that should be just ignored since that was the old him. So let's take a look at the old Gates. He's the guy who women say paid them for sex, then took ecstasy while partying with them and asked them to recruit other girls for him to sleep with. He's the guy who has so few friends among House Republicans, they are dishing tales of his actions to reporters, including of his love for alcohol and illegal drugs, his series of connections with much younger women, and that he openly dated a college student. She was over 18 back in 2018 when she came to D.C. as an intern. He's the old Gates who colleagues say showed nude photos of women he said he had slept with, including one of a naked woman playing hula hoop. That source calling Gates' photo a point of pride. He's also the guy who, while serving in the state legislature, reportedly ran a game to score their sexual conquests with added points for sleeping with interns, staffers, female colleagues in the state house, and virgins, and who led the opposition to a bill that would criminalize revenge porn. Quote, Matt was absolutely against it, a former colleague said. He thought the picture was his to do with what he wanted. He thought that any picture was his to use as he wanted, an expression of his rights. So let's lift the lid on the old Gates in Florida, and for that we turn to Gary Fineout. Gary is a reporter with Politico. He's also the writer of their Florida Playbook. Gary, let's start with today's breaking news. That associate of Gates's, a Republican county lawmaker in Florida before his arrest with a reported plea deal today. His name's Joel Greenberg. He's accused, among other things, of organizing a sex trafficking system. And the women have reportedly said that they were paid to have sex with him, with Gates, and others at Greenberg's instructions. What do you know about Greenberg? How well was the stuff surrounding him known? And what can you tell us about his connections with Gates, even the above-board variety?
Well, Joel Greenberg is known as a tax collector in Seminole County. That's kind of a local official. It's an elected position. And Joel Greenberg was elected a few years ago to that position. And he and Gates became fast friends, and they palled around a lot. And in fact, at one point in time, Matt Gates suggested that Joel Greenberg would make a fine congressman to represent that area. So, in fact, there's a picture that's gotten a lot of currency in the last couple of weeks, a picture of Roger Stone, Joel Greenberg, and Matt Gates. So the two were very much friends, very much, did things together. There was a voicemail that came out about a week ago where the two of them had called a female Democratic legislator, in which they called her up and just said that they wanted to talk to her about her lovely qualities. And she kind of said it was creepy. But that's just an example of the two were very much together a lot. And now these charges against Mr. Greenberg are quite extensive. They cover a wide variety of things, everything from identity theft to stalking to using taxpayer money to purchase Bitcoin. So a long laundry list of charges. And of course, as you alluded to, the fact is today his lawyers indicated that they're trying to negotiate a plea deal. And the question is, well, what does that mean for Matt Gates? And does that mean that Mr. Greenberg has some information and evidence that he's going to now give prosecutors that could be used against Gates?
Sure, sounds like Greenberg might be the other shoe to drop on Gates. Let's go back now to Gates' time in the state legislature. And I want to begin with that alleged point game for sexual conquests. Back in 2013, your colleague at Politico, Mark Caputo, tweeted out the existence of the point game, how many points someone would earn for specific notches on their belts, though he did not mention Gates in that tweet. I'm curious, how well known was the existence of that game and whether Gates was reported or rumored to be a part of it at the time?
Well, I recall that little revelation by by Mark Caputo, who I work with now at Politico. I didn't work with him at the time. And certainly he has come out and said, well, he didn't hear about this directly with Gates. But the way it works here in Tallahassee, it's like a bubble, just like maybe people will associate with Washington, D.C. And over the years, there's been several things where this culture has resulted in some very unsavory events. I mean, we've had a couple of legislators at the height of the Me Too movement who wound up resigning because they were accused of improper behavior, including sexual harassment. And so, including what's interesting is one of the senators who resigned was urged to resign by Matt Gaetz because he was critical of his behavior. So here in Tallahassee, there is sometimes this very, insular type of activity that goes on. And I don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Gary, what was Gaetz's reputation in the Florida State House, both as a legislator, but also as just a person?
He was considered to be, very smart about legal things, and because he was an attorney, he was known for his razor sharp tongue. I mean, he was known for being very aggressive, very combative. Pivotal example in 2015, a debate over Medicaid expansion, where he tweeted out some criticisms of two African-American legislators, in which there are a lot of people who were upset and they felt it was racist. He basically defended himself and said it wasn't. And in fact, the House Speaker was forced to issue a statement saying, well, he's an agitator, but he's not a racist. So, but the point is that while Gaetz was very much involved, was in a top position here in the Florida House, he had a reputation for getting into it with people.
I want to ask you about that revenge porn bill that Gaetz opposed while in Tallahassee. There are some mitigating factors on top of his opposition to it. There's the quote from lawmakers that he thought he was entitled to own any photos that he had, which certainly seems to speak to concerns about his own life. And his odd defense of Congresswoman Katie Hill after she resigned being victimized by revenge porn. Both seem to fit in with what we're learning about his personality. I'm wondering, what more can you add to that story, the revenge porn bill, or how that might add to the image of Gaetz that we're all developing?
Well, I think the thing that you need to look at with Representative Gaetz is that he doesn't fall neatly within all those other categories that you think of with Republicans and conservative Republicans. It doesn't necessarily surprise me for him to take a position kind of, contrary to other people. He's done it all the time. He's clashed with lots of Republicans. I mean, he has a very fractious relationship with Rick Scott, the former governor of the state, who's now a U.S. senator. They do not have a good relationship, and they've battled and crossed swords. And even leading up to this most recent stuff, he was taking shots at the current state Senate president over issues.
And finally, Gary, Gaetz's father, Don Gaetz, well known in Florida politics for a long time, former state Senate president. Is there anything from his father's career or anything related with their relationship that might add to our understanding of Matt?
Well, Don Gaetz was state Senate president, as you pointed out, and in fact, Don Gaetz himself would occasionally have little blow-ups with people. In fact, Don Gaetz was in line to possibly become president of the University of West Florida down here, and basically what happened is that Governor Rick Scott kind of interfered, and the job went to somebody else. So it's this complicated situation with the relationships here, and it's not as cut and dry as one would think in terms of, okay, they're all Republican, they must all be on the same side. I mean, the other thing you got to remember is here in Florida, the Republicans have been in control of state government for more than 20 years, and so the Democrats aren't as big of an obstacle. It's more about this infighting that sometimes goes on among Republicans.
Gary Fineout is a Florida reporter for Politico. He's also the author of their Florida Playbook. Gary, really appreciate the insight. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me on.
Rich?
Andrew, thank you. We come back. An ER doctor will join us to discuss all things COVID, including what we've learned about the vaccine now that it's been out for more than 6 months, and also whether or not he thinks we need to issue vaccine passports.
Clean up your lawn and garden the smart way with a DR Chipper Shredder. Drop lighter materials into the shredder and the DR will pulverize it into a fine mulch you can use to enrich your soil. Reduce leaves, garden cuttings, sticks and twigs, even big branches, to a fraction of their original volume. The chipper cuts branches up to 5 inches thick into attractive wood chips that are great for landscaping. A DR Chipper Shredder is a complete yard and garden tool that turns your trash into treasure and leaves your property looking great. There's a full line of DR chippers and chipper shredders, including towable and 3-point hitch models.
Go online to drchipper.com to request your free product catalog. All DR Chipper models are on sale and free shipping is in effect. Plus, with our easy financing plan, you can get your DR now and make low monthly payments. Hurry, this offer won't last, so go online today. That's drchipper.com.
Are you over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days? I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. Call now for this free book on maximizing your income in retirement. Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers from leading financial firm J.D. Mellberg. That's right, free. This book reveals little-known truths about annuities in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now, because we're about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known truths we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity, and it's free. Call 800-851-7261. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. We researched numerous products and summarized rates and benefits of annuities, all from Silac Insurance Company. Call 800-851-7261. That's 800-851-7261. Call now.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you could enroll in a plan with some amazing additional benefits. Call now.
Now it's plateaued at a disturbingly high level. The last count yesterday was 63,000 cases in a single day. When you're at that level, there is the risk of getting a surge back up. It's almost a race between getting people vaccinating and this surge that seems to want to increase.
That warning from Dr. Fauci as the race is on to get enough people vaccinated to prevent another wave of COVID. Now, of the 450,000 new cases we've seen in the past week, nearly half, they're in 5 states highlighted on this map: New York, Michigan, Florida, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. And Michigan, it leads the country in those new cases, with more than half of them from a new UK variant. Some hospitals there, they're starting to fill up with COVID patients.
We're seeing a lot more younger adults, middle-aged adults being affected, getting sick and coming in. We've got patients who are holding in the emergency room, waiting for beds to open up.
I want to bring in our guest to discuss ABC News medical contributor Dr. Darian Sutton. He an ER doctor working in California right now. He's kind enough to give us a few minutes. How would you characterize in early April how you feel about things right now, Doctor? Are you cautiously optimistic, concerned with the variant spikes? Where are you?
Cautious, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. Cautious optimism is the best description of how I feel right now. I'm cautious given the fact that we're seeing these increasing rates specifically in the Northeast and the Northwest, so we have to remain vigilant. But I'm also really hopeful because we're seeing benefits of these vaccines every single day, especially as those who are infected are more likely to be younger and not vaccinated, and the older population seems to be protected given the fact that most of those over the age of 65 have been vaccinated. So it's really reassuring.
I know I'm not breaking any news here, but these vaccines really work. With about 6 months of data, what have you learned about it that's even surprised you in terms of not only their effectiveness, but things that we're learning now with a few months under our belt?
It's remarkable, to be honest with you, from my personal perspective, to be able to walk around in a hospital in my ICU without that looming fear that I might be exposed and contract COVID-19 is really honestly a game changer, to be honest, since I've gotten the vaccine in December, I believe. And so now my life has completely changed, and that of my patients' lives has completely changed. Most notably, the people who are coming in sick and ill are no longer those who are in nursing homes, as those were more likely to be hospitalized hospitalized and unfortunately die secondary to COVID-19, but more likely we're seeing younger people becoming infected with COVID-19 who are not vaccinated. And also, something that's really surprising is that those who have long-term symptoms are showing some benefit from getting vaccinated as well and curing their long-term symptoms. So I see a lot of really positive things that I was not expecting with the rollout of this vaccine.
Obviously, we got a problem with vaccine hesitancy still. Is there a number that you work off of that says, doctor, this will get us to herd immunity? And I know it's somewhat non-scientific. We know obviously how many people have gotten the shot. We know how many positive cases we've had, but that's only a fraction of the people that have actually gotten infected with COVID. What is the number when you put it all together, those that have antibodies either from the shot or having had the virus before, that you think gets us to a safe place?
Well, right now, the estimates seem to range between 70 and 90%. So my threshold that I always use in my head is around 70% of those vaccinated. Now, as you pointed out, those who have had prior infections can have antibodies and a likely immune response to protect them against future recurrent COVID-19 infections. However, those who are naturally infected and don't get vaccinated, the response is variable. So we still recommend that those who have been previously infected to get the vaccine to hopefully obtain that more uniform, highly effective protection against COVID-19. And based on the trajectories that we're looking at right now, approximately 3 million people most recently are getting vaccinated every day. We may achieve that 70% vaccine-induced herd immunity by as early as June and 80 and 90% by as early as July. So it's really reassuring.
And my last question, it has to do with medicine, but it's also, there's a human element to it. I've interviewed you in both California and New York. So when you get on a plane right now, and airlines and every industry is trying to figure out about a vaccine passport, where do you come down on it, doctor, in terms of what should the expectation be if, as a society and a country, we want to get past this? Should we require people to have vaccines if they're going to be using mass transit or, in this case, transportation that's going to take you in a tube up in the air?
Yeah, I have this conversation on a daily basis. I have to say that mandating vaccines, especially in the setting of one that has been authorized via emergency use, although we have gotten tremendous amounts of research, I think you come into some ethical difficulties by mandating and forcing people to get vaccines. As we start to open up more and more travel, of course, we want to encourage everyone to get vaccinated. But if you choose not to get vaccinated or you cannot get vaccinated right now, we encourage you to practice the utmost protection and mitigation efforts, wearing masks, keeping social distancing. Don't travel internationally right now because of the fact that we have these variants in play, and we want to make sure that we get as many vaccinated before these variants beat us to it. And of course, continue to practice these safety plans. But I think that when we talk about mandating things, we get into those ethical issues because for some reasons there will always be one or two patients or a couple of patients that cannot get the vaccine for one reason or another. So I always shy away from mandating and just focus on prevention.
Dr. Sutton, it's always good talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap things up after this commercial break. Please stay with us.
Villains, robbers, bandits, crooks, they're all over your TV screen. But the biggest thieves are behind your screen. I'm talking about the cable companies. They charge monthly subscriptions, fees, rentals, and force you to take long-term contracts. Well, it's time to say goodbye to the cable guy, because now you can watch 4K Ultra HD broadcast TV for free. Introducing Clear TV's new 4K Ultra HD design, the Premium HD. Just plug it into your TV and start watching for free. You will instantly receive top-rated network shows, local news and weather, sporting events, and even Ultra HD 4K broadcast shows, all for free. Thanks to federal government mandate, all broadcasters are required to transmit a digital TV signal through the airwaves. The new Premium Clear TV lets you bypass cable or satellite to bring network and 4K broadcast shows directly to your television. Retract the antenna to keep it small or extend them for maximum reception.
Setup was so easy. I took my Clear TV antenna, plugged it into the back of the TV, and now I can watch my favorite broadcast channels anywhere in the house for free.
We're just off the coast here in the Gulf of Mexico receiving free Network broadcast HD TV. Imagine all the free shows you'll receive at home.
Basic cable and satellite services can cost you up to $80 a month. That's $960 a year and almost $10,000 over a 10-year period. Watch TV in as many rooms as you like with no additional monthly fees. Stop spending money you don't have to spend. Call or go online now and get your premium Clear TV 4K Ultra HD antenna for only $19.95. It's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee. Order now and you can add a second Clear TV free. Just pay separate processing and handling. That's a $40 value for only $19.95.
I can't believe I get all these channels for free. Plus 4K Ultra HD, Clear TV is for real.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Well, that is going to do it for us tonight. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We'll be back here tomorrow, Friday, for another RFL. We'll see you at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.
IRS, open up.
The IRS is the most feared agency in the country.